When you go into a contrived space for about 14 days, you're kind of chuckling under your breath like, oh, this is so cheesy. Like, look at the bad tape player news broadcast that they're playing. And they've played that same news broadcast for the last 20 years. And look at how cheesy it is. And here's like the fifth time that we're reading a newspaper that's just printed out of the printer in the office, and all these fake incoming sources of information. And you're like, oh, this is kind of like cheesy. For about 14 days, that shit's cheesy.
For 14 days? It's about 14 seconds when you took us in that warehouse. That was never cheesy.
Because you start to adapt to the reality that you're in. And you know that they're going to find you, and you know they're going to backtrack you, and you know that they're going to look all the way back through the flight records. They're going to find you. They're going to find you in fucking, you name it. Let's say that you're American, living in Canada, targeting Russia, traveling through whatever, Sweden. They're going to find you going back to Sweden. They're going to see that it's a dead end. They're going to know it's operational. But there's nothing they can do about it.
Mm. What happened in that last mission at the farm? Because like you said, you were saying this a while ago, but you went through the entire thing. Every part of CIA training, surveillance, detection, regular surveillance, going into a city, doing all the stories you've told in the past. And then something happened on the last one that then eventually led to someone on the board not liking you and stopping you from being a full case officer.
Yeah. So in one of the final exercises, you have what's known as a multi-meeting exercise where you develop the full life cycle of a target source. Mm-hmm. So whereas other exercises are different lifespans, or they're like segments of the lifespan of an asset development case, this one was a full lifespan, so from beginning to end. And shortly, like right towards the end of the actual developmental cycle, you're supposed to learn how to pitch and recruit and start setting up clandestine meetings with a target. And clandestine meetings are different than public meetings, and there's all sorts of tradecraft stuff in there that we can talk about. But in that meeting, in that session, I let my target take control of when and how we would meet, which is a clear violation of who's in control of the relationship. But at the time, I was so excited because I thought I was like nailing it. Just like anybody who's ever been excited because they thought they were doing a good job and then they fucked up at the end. I thought I was doing a good job. And then as we were kind of agreeing to the terms of our relationship, I let him take control of when and where we were going to meet next. Because he's not a real asset, he's a role player. As a role player, he could take that back to the other role players and say, my guy fucked up. Here's what he did wrong. And then to teach me the mistake that I made, they set up an apprehension and an interrogation for me. So when I went to the next meeting, I was essentially arrested in character, and then I was interrogated in character by my own teachers, by my own staff.
It's kind of strange to think about. I don't know, this one was different than other stories, like when they literally drop you in a city and yes, there are role players, but you're running from them, and so you literally really have to steal things out of real stores, like it's real.
Right.
Whereas this one, the person is a trainer who has to put on an Academy Award-winning performance to make this real enough for you to feel like you're actually playing the psychological game. Like, it's a very strange thing.
It's a strange thing, but you also have to remember that we live in a false reality the whole time we're at the farm. We have no access to the outside world. The outside world has no access to us. The only time we exist in the outside world is when we get a pass to leave the base where the farm is held, or when we literally carry out an exercise outside of the borders of that base, when we go into a downtown city area to meet somebody in a coffee shop. But it's not like we're going to have a conversation with the barista or meet somebody new on the walk, because we're running a surveillance detection route the whole way there. We're running a surveillance detection route the whole way back. So we're never leaving our bubble of reality. So it's the weirdest thing to admit to. When you go into a contrived space for about 14 days, you're kind of chuckling under your breath like, oh, this is so cheesy. Like, look at the bad tape player news broadcast that they're playing, and they've played that same news broadcast for the last 20 years, and look at how cheesy it is. And here's like the fifth time that we're reading a newspaper that's just printed out of the printer in the office, and all these fake incoming sources of information, and you're like, oh, this is kind of like cheesy. For about 14 days, that shit's cheesy.
For 14 days? It's about 14 seconds when you took us in that fucking warehouse.
And
that
that's
was never cheesy.
because you start to adapt to the reality that you're in. So after 14 days of, you eat at the cafeteria, you do this, you do that, whatever else, you've still got months of training ahead of you. So by the time you're 4 months in, the fucking newspaper is the printout from the office.
I see what you're saying.
And the bad tracking that's happening on the tape player is the real news story from today. And it's all anybody talks about. And everything that you're doing inside your station, inside your studio, inside your peer group, it's all so real. So when an instructor pulls you into a classroom to interrogate you, it's fucking real. It is so strange, man. But you've had the experience now to know, like, you knew you weren't going to get hurt. Back in the back of your brain, but in the front of your brain, you started convincing yourself of something very different.
Oh, there were a few times where I was like, not sure what we signed up for here. I didn't know they were coming up. We'll talk about it later. I don't want to get into this now. But for example, when they were coming over to check the pulse on the fingers, which, I didn't know that was like a thing. I thought Trevor was about to break my fingers. And I was like, oh, fuck, I need those. No, wait a minute. I was almost like, cut, but I couldn't do that because you're so disoriented. Maybe that's different, like when you're being kidnapped right away or whatever, but now that you explain it, I'm almost surprised it would take 14 days just to kind of get yourself immersed, believing that atmosphere, because the human mind, to your point, does adapt quickly to surroundings.
It's about how it's resourced, right? When you are well-resourced, and we were all very well-resourced. Remember, we were going into multiple months of training, and in those multiple months of training, we're exhausted by the end, and we're cracking by like the last 30 to 45 days, but they need us to make it through hundreds of days of training. So we come in well-resourced, and for the first few months, you stay well-resourced. You get full nights of rest, you get really good meals, you get, you're taught academically something in a classroom that you can adapt to, you can take on, you can practice. So you're kind of like walking, or you're, crawling before you can walk, so that you have enough energy barely to run at the end.
Right.
That's why for 14 days we were fine, because we were well-resourced. We knew enough. We could still remember what happened 5 days ago. We still knew that there was a new movie coming out. By month 4, you have no fucking idea what the new movies are that are coming out. You don't even know that there are movies out, because there are no movies that get advertised on the internal CCTV.
And how was it? 4 months total?
It's many months. It's a classified number. It's a classified number, so I can't share it, but there's all sorts of easy Google searches you can do that will tell you what's popular.
It's so funny that like people at home can now go Google that, but you just can't say it right
Well,
here.
what I love is that I promise you CIA is going to be watching this. They're going to watch all the promo stuff for the book.
Yeah.
And they're going to literally hear you say, like you said earlier, I've been talking to you for a long time and you've never explained these details. Like, fucking there you go, CIA. I told you I wasn't doing it.
I was paid to say that. I just want to point that out. Gave me $1,200 and I accepted.
There's the bus.
And I work for Russia. Just kidding. Don't ever
air that.
Don't air that too far, because that'll be taken out of context real fast. But either way.
For Russia.
So you got in, when you get to this last one, you've been immersed into it for however fucking long you were. And you describe it. You were feeling really good about yourself. You felt like, I'm in control. This guy's doing exactly what I want. And then, the air gets sucked out because, like you said, they end up abducting you and taking you back for interrogation. And it was like, you describe it in a way in your book, this almost like, you're like, fuck, like just got the wind knocked out of you. And there's nothing else after this. Were you thinking to yourself at the end of that interrogation, like, oh my God, they're not going to let me be a case officer now?
There was a big piece of me that was thinking that as time passed, as like hours turned to days, that became the stronger thought. But if the closest thing I can compare it to is anybody who's ever been on the cusp in college between making it or not making it to the next year, passing or not passing a class, and you're like, did I get that C minus or did I get that B plus? Did I hit the score that I needed, or am I fucked? That's really what it felt like. I was like, okay, I fucked up. I know I fucked up. I know this is bad, but is this like D minus bad, or is this like C plus bad? How bad is this? Because I don't know, because it's all subjective to the fucking the instructors. And I know that if enough instructors like me, they're going to make it more C plus. And if enough instructors don't like me, they're going to make it fucking D minus, right? So I don't know where I land right now on this pivotal massive exercise that was worth the majority of my, of my college grade, if you will. So it's super, super parallel to what we've all experienced in college. And that's where I sat. Like, am I about to graduate or do I have to do summer school? Except there is no summer school. So am I about to graduate or am I about to spend the rest of my life without a degree?
Where is Jihi in the program during all this? 'Cause she became a targeter. So what's her track?
She aced everything. Yeah. Jihi was a superstar, and she's smart enough not to appear on the internet very often. That's how smart she is, right? So, case officer training is probably 4 times longer than any other training that happens at the agency. Longer than analyst training, linguist training, staff operations training, tech training, anything, because there's so much of it that goes into keeping you secure, keeping your assets secure, keeping the information secure, and then how to operate in different environments. So Jihi went through her training course months before, or she started her training course while I was still at the farm and finished months before I was done.
But you guys came in at the same time. Okay.
We started
it's just a totally different track.
Correct. Totally different parallel
What's she
track.
under again?
She's a targeter.
Yeah. But is that under another subcategory, or is it literally a category just called targeting?
Targeting, exactly. So under the National Clandestine Service, which is now known as the Director of Operations, you have multiple title tracks underneath there. There's special skills officers. Those are kind of your paramilitary guys, as well as some other various special skills like doctors. Then you have your targeters. You have your mission planners, which are called staff operations officers. You have your tech ops officers. You have your logistics officers. You have your budget and finance officers. You have your targeting officers. So all of them fall under the clandestine services, and they all have their own different training tracks underneath, with the idea being that once you kind of finish your training track, you're able to all play nicely together in the real world. But like what a budget and finance officer does in the real world is completely different than what a targeter does in the real world.
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.